Well, hello again. So, yeah, I'm not the best video maker. I have a team, but it's like a secret team. But, anyway. Um, so, yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely, happy with my progress, but I'm not entirely disappointed with it either. It's just been a different year. From last year, my awakening. So I woke at the age of 42, which is funny. Nice shout out to Douglas Adams there. Um, but also, it's just been a different year. So, I only awoke like a year and a half ago, and it's just like this year is a different year. It's the first year of my life I haven't been possessed because apparently roofie possessing people is a real fucking thing that actually occurs, and this could occur to you as a child. And I mean, maybe I was awake, like so they had to have me awake, so they like roofied me and woke me up or whatever with like some salt or whatever the fuck they did, and then knocked me out again to make it seem like a dream. It's a real thing. I know they do magic through the walls. I don't know if possession could actually be done through the walls, which is good. But that's, I think, why some of the Isra's allies like to fucking invite people to their place so they could give them opportunity to secretly possess them somehow. And they're like, oh yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you don't like Israel? Well, why don't you come down to Israel? Don't worry, we'll make sure to roofie you and fucking possess you, and then see where your allegiance lies. Seriously, like straight up, seriously, I'm 100% serious. I know it sounds like crazy, but like the CIA doing the black magic shit, they didn't haven't fucking recovered since, and they recruit good people to maintain that image. That's the only reason why they recruit good people. But also, it's like, a challenge for the demons or narcissists or whatever term you want to use to describe them. Um, they're like, they take pride in, corrupting people and, destroying them. And, I guess I am a little bit corrupted. I mean, you fucking raped me in the ass as a child into my adulthood while using children, doing your little zoophilia. What the fuck? So I guess I like butt stuff, so... and that's why they rape people a lot too. Yeah, I like butt stuff, and the CIA has been in my life, my whole life, because of this Freemason and occult stuff. And there's some good actors, but there's also bad actors, and I don't always know. I can't always tell the difference because of all the two-facing and betraying. So it's like, oh yeah, you seem like a good one, but, maybe not. And also the whole roofie possessing me thing too, to like keep me from love. So then they send me a bunch of women, when I was a boy, girls, they send me a bunch of females throughout my life. And then I'm not able to make it work with them. And then they're like, well, you had your chance, and it's like... And I'd be hearing stuff on demons, and they're like, well, you just make your own demons and everything. And yeah, I believe that's true, but also I think roofie possessing others is a real thing. And it's like the movie Night of the Living Creeps, where those little slugs, get in your mouth and, possess you. And it's like that, but more invisible. And that's the CIA, fucking gets, like, possessed. And then they find other people to slowly possess, And so I think the possession was like usually taking effect when I was near a good match. And also made me more prone to like acting out and everything. So when you go through abuse even secretly and you don't remember it, your body still responds. You know, just like there's been a few times in my life where I was like, acting like the bully, to someone who didn't really deserve it. Like I don't mind bullying Hillary Clinton or Bill Gates or some fucktard like that, but there's been a few moments in my life where I'm punching down, and it's because everyone else around me is punching down, and then anyway, feel bad about it, and then you correct yourself. But yeah, so it's just been a different year. You know, I don't know if I'm going to go out and everything for Halloween because I want to be disciplined somewhat, even though I'm not the best at that. I still have my lust thing where I kind of play with my dildos, but I think I've contained my fucking demons, enough to where, they could be probably, successfully culled at some point. Um, Especially when they use the sex stuff for the infiltration or try to get their women, or dudes to hook up with you. Um, well, they use sex so much and everything. It is very beneficial that I use sex toys. So people may make fun of that or whatever the fuck, but I'm not hooking up with one of theirs, being energy sucked, or having a demon reproduce with me to make some demonic fucking child. Because I actually think that people have had children with me secretly, and they kind of like keep them from me. There was this one instance last year where I was asking to like see one of my children, and then there was a guy on a path and everything. The kid was young. I'm so bad with ages, and maybe 3, 4. I don't know, 5. No, but no, I think younger. I think it was like 2 or 3 or something like that. Maybe 4. And then this kid is standing in the path, and this adult introduces me to them. And I had that feeling. I had that like ESP feeling, like this is something like, and that could be my child, but someone else is taking care of them. And they said their name was Damon. Like demon. Because I was possessed at the time, so I never mated not possessed. So this first year I haven't been possessed. I kind of realized that love is more important, but I need to watch it because now that I'm awakened, it's even harder, and there's all sorts of infiltration trying to get with me, and maybe it's best that I do just touch myself. And it does really, like, like there's weird shit going on, like people trying to collect my cum and everything. And it's like, maybe it is beneficial that I jizz in my pants. You know? I do goofy things. Like, yeah, they like roofie molest me with their children, and then they bring their children around me, and then they fool all the child protectors into doing it too. Maybe I do something, and that sounds fucked up, and it's hard to prove, right? The plausible deniability. Well, maybe I do something silly and shit my pants, and make your kids that you have roam around me smell it. Like you have your ways and I have mine. All right, and you got to think of stuff like that to do for like the targeted individuals. The more like you've been born into it, occult kind of targeted individuals. Not the one where they're like whistleblowing or they're coming on to like some suppressed technology or that they're figuring it out and everything and they get targeted. But the lifers and everything. And yeah, so I'm very asexual. I'm very hard to have sex with. All those, there's been like, especially in my like early 20s when they had sent me, a lot of lovely pics and whatnot, and it was at the height of my hormones. It's also the height of my like total like destruction. Like my 20s is part of my darkest time of my life because they use the pre-K through pre-K through 12, school system, and even into college, to mind control people. And I didn't realize how abusive it actually really was, and intentional, very, very intentional. And yeah, they just compartmentalize everybody, and then they have like one person do this, one person do that, And then it all adds up, though. So yeah, I guess I am a lot like Putin, Vladimir Putin, but I was born in America, where I'm getting constantly, attacked into my like. I mean, in me coming into this world, and then I'm constantly being attacked, and like no way to defend it, and it's all very secret because they love to roofie people. And not only that, but I have a sexual abuse amnesia trauma response. Not to give my weaknesses away or some shit like that, but when I get sexually violated, it like typically ends up in a complete, an instant blank of memory. And that was something that was bred into me because my parents used to breed cats, do the cat show thing, and that was something that was bred into me. So it's nice to be like self-aware of these things too. And so learning, the love thing. First year, I haven't been possessed. That's some bullshit that people send me a bunch of women when I am possessed, and then I can't make it work. And well, on top of the Zionists are like, maybe he's gay, and yeah, they sent me to. I ended up in Denver here, Colorado, a very gay trans place. And I am a little bit bisexual, but now since I've been like healing and fixing myself, I just feel a little less like that, you know. And I don't feel like having people like attach entities to me while we're being intimate or sucking my energy and shit like that. Trying to secretly breed with me. I'm not trying to have kids. Like I can't help. There was that time I talked about in a previous video, but I'll mention it again. Is like I was with this chick, and it was at a low vibration in my life, and it was I guess easier than usual to sleep with me. And she fucking slept with me, and we used a condom. I threw it in the fucking trash in the bathroom, and afterwards, but then I noticed like she used the bathroom and then she ran off. And then afterwards, though, I noticed like the condom was moved, and then the condom didn't seem to have as much fluid in it as it did, because I like, being the guy or whatever, like, yeah, I did that, and it's like, did someone steal my cum? Anyway, whatever, like I just kind of put it out of my mind. I didn't even think about anything about it until I like learned I was this stalk for life occult entity years later, which was like, within the past 2 or 3 years. And my brain has been screaming a lot. I've been going through this great processing and realigning, all my views, and it felt like my brain was just like screaming for like 2 or 3 years. It is truly amazing how I haven't gone insane, even though the cover up is like, yeah, I'm insane. But it is, yeah, truly amazing that I haven't gone insane from all the stuff, being, channeling, a bunch of entities and all that stuff, and then being myself. Um, yeah. So, um, learning to love this year. I had a full body tension release at the end of, or at the start of last year, at the start of 2024. So it's like mid October now, 2025. It's been almost 2 years since that, but almost a year later, in December of 2024, like at the end of the year, I had a second full body tension release, and then like I haven't. Hey, kitty, kitty. Um, I haven't had a good feeling orgasm my whole life until just recently. Um, and so I'd be playing around with that. I think masturbation is very helpful when it comes to people trying to use sex to infiltrate and use hot faces. And they do that a lot to a lot of the people that I watch too. So I know the Freemasons do that, and Illuminati, and Zizits, the Zeke. They do that a lot. So when I, have the habit of touching myself, then it's like, yeah, and yeah, can bring me on a low vibration and everything. But I'm also the greeter to hell, so it's like, can't I have a little fun too? I'm supposed to like negotiate between the light and the dark. Can't I enjoy my masturbation as well? But yeah, I need to work on that. And I like just this year, like earlier this year, I started become comfortable to like get naked in front of other people in the locker room. Something that I suffered from when I was a child. I wonder why. It's a bunch of fucking people like abuse me when I'm fucking roofied and everything. Like I left this Catholic school, Notre Dame, after the third grade. So in the fourth grade, I'm going to public school. But by the third grade, I'm already like sexually abused, trauma responding, and they're teaching me homophobia. So they're raping me in the ass, and they're teaching secretly, like unknown to me. It's like that secret. Like any weird memory that I have, I think it's a dream. I think it's a weird dream. Like, oh, that was weird. And then they're teaching like homophobia. They're like, yeah, you're gay, Chris. You don't want to be that. And so the psychological warfare started when I was like a fucking child. On top of doing that shit when I was a toddler, like chasing me around, scaring me, and sucking my blood. Which, I like a couple years ago, if someone said that shit happened to me, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, fuck you, you fucking nut. But it is a real thing. I learned now that because the only way I was able, because I can't remember my sexual abuse, so the only way I was able to figure it out is my sexual abuse trauma responses, and the weird dreams and everything all adding up, and it's like, and then, yeah, they think that they have blackmail on me, and it's like, psh, no, they don't. A bunch of people like FBI, CIA, showing me their child porn when I'm a child. Like I need to tell this story. I need to tell this story. Um, on top of sexually abusing me, possessing me, and then it all adds up to like fuck you, like getting cops to like fucking take my Playboy and shit. Like when I'm a kid, like because they compartmentalize everything, and they're like, oh, da, da, da. When I was a kid, also there was this army family like a few houses down from me, the DeFalcos. There's this kid, Joey DeFalco, that was like, I was a kid, and I'm getting brain damage too because they're putting like lead in the water when I'm at like a friend's house, or other heavy metals to just poison me and brain damage me. Yeah, like I'm so brain damaged that I have an auditory processing disorder, so it's hard for me to like make out like words, especially when someone has like a deep accent. And I have the facial blindness, so it's like really hard to tell, especially with the almost adults that you use to fool people into thinking they're an adult, like going to buy cigarettes or some shit, which is that's like all masked and everything for the sex trafficking that they actually do. But yeah, like so I have a hard time telling, and yeah, although I'd like sleep with like a fucking college chick, I like think about it and everything. And it's like, man, I don't even like. I need to have someone from my peer group. There's a lot of pretty faces out there and whatnot. But like, I'm going to hook up with someone like let's say 21. All right, and like, what do we have in common? We don't even like. I grew up on like Ren and Stimpy and all this 80s and 90s music, and that's I like that stuff. There was this one really cool one, Orange Peel, and she had really good music to listen to, and we had a lot in common. But now I'm going to hook up with someone like a couple decades younger than me, and it's like, and yeah, technically that's okay and everything, but like I don't have anything in common, so I'm just going to like sit there and not know what to do, like Edward Scissorhands in the salon with Ambrosia, or that one neighbor that was trying to hook up with him. I forget I forget her name actually, but she had the Ambrosia salad, but I don't know if that was her name. Anyway, but so yeah, I just started becoming comfortable to like get naked in front of other people, and like even at the locker room, like I'm not trying to hook up. I'm just trying to change in my swimsuit and shit. So I go to the hot tub, like even simple stuff like that, like using the locker room when I was like in school the whole time, just being so like fearful and self conscious and everything. The entire time, every single time, like what that does to a person. And anyway, so people might think, like, oh, they turn out better or some shit like that, like Vlad, like, but like, would you, like, you getting attacked at 3 or 4 years old and shit, getting possessed, getting like roofie molested, like, would you have been able to figure it out and turn out so well, you know? So it's just the luck of the draw, I was born over here. I have a particular mission here in America. Um, and he was born over there, and that was that, you know. All right, that's that. But yeah, I don't have any beef against the guy. I'm not trying to eat babies or do sexual things with inappropriate ages. But yeah, people be trying to do that to me, and people been doing that to me. It's weird. Yeah, like nobody ever wants to fucking talk about it. Like, why can't we talk about me getting roofie molested into my adulthood, but the community or a secret community out there maintaining their children status, throughout my, like I had a roofie incident in Colorado Springs a few years ago, so where I woke up and my butt was lubed, but I didn't fucking do anything. I didn't do any masturbation or dildos or nothing the night before, so why was it like that? I was getting heavily poisoned too. And that's another thing, is they use like chemicals, they use dews, they use sounds, and to manipulate the body. Because, trying to make me into like an OnlyFans producer, because they're just trying to like insert me into the system somewhere. And I'm like, no. And that's one thing that the Freemasons do have going for them, is I have been treated nicely after my family's destruction, and betrayals upon my family. So that's nice. They hooked me up with a voucher, and I get my little MK Ultra benefits with my Social Security, which I never really saw as a bad thing. I was like, oh wow, I survive on this program, so that's going to be a program that I fight for. I wasn't really taking a negative out of it, because they try to make a negative out of it. They're like, ha ha ha. And I do suck at making money. My skill set has been kind of, attacked. They try to, intentionally make me as loser-y as possible. I can only speak English, or I guess two languages, English and bad English. so, so yeah, I feel good about the trajectory and everything. I kind of scrapped the whole like wanting to run for president thing, because I just don't want to be a bitch for the deep state or space aliens or whatever the fuck you call them. I don't want to be a bitch for them. If anything, I'm the people's bitch. My mouth is dry. My mouth is dry. Anyway, so yeah, I'd rather be like fighting for the people and doing what they actually want. They deserve to be actually represented, instead of having all these unrepresentatives go around and just blatantly not do the people's stuff and go, see, you put us in charge. How about the blues over there or the reds over there? Why don't you guys fight about it? Look, we made a bunch of gay people. Why don't you guys fight about that shit too? We made a bunch of mentally handicapped people and handicapped people, and why don't you go just and you should help your community out, but they're like, go waste your time with that. Go fight for something like, more parking spaces, more handicap parking spaces. you know, and they just misdirect, every time. They made a bunch of unfit fat people because some of the aliens actually like to, and humans, like to feast on human flesh. And they like to fatten some of us up, to disappear some of us. But they make such large population numbers that it's easy to disappear some of you. And... Meow. Kitty, kitty, say hi. Say hi, Kiki. Say hi, Kiki. See, Kitty, I hope so. I didn't know if I got her or not. Probably got part of her. Anyway, I'm sorry if I was just like showing you her butt. I couldn't really tell how I was, how it all looked. Anyway, so yeah, I think I've been doing. It's just been a different year. And I needed to calm down some before I hit the insanity thing that they could push people to by giving them like a half a vial of LSD all at once. Fuck. Yeah, I think a few drips and everything would be nice, but not a whole fucking vial at once. No. So yeah. Yeah, I think I deserve that stuff too, though. Should be sending me a regular supply if you want, accuracy. But some people don't. Some people don't want accuracy. Some people don't want me connected. So if you want me connected in accuracy, I really love that stuff. But yeah, I don't know what to do because I'm just, like everyone's trying to insert their people, and there are some good options out there, but it's really hard for me to tell. I have been checking out this one YouTuber, and she has some good advice, and that's stuff that I need to work on still. And I need to, fast more and not be so dildo-y, but like given the circumstances where they really tried sexually to try to get me somewhere, I think I'm doing good just touching myself. All right, and then at least me using my dildos and everything. And masturbating like that. I'm not, seeing the jinn run around and cause havoc around my life. I think that possession is over. It was part of my possession when I was like fucking a child. Since I was a child. So yeah. And it's not, it's not going as fast as people like, but, I have my ups and downs, and maybe that's a quicker way to get me to the end, as I've seen some, science experiments with the ball that goes up and down the same distance this straight one does, but the one that goes up and down fucking gets to the end faster. So, I have my ups and downs. I've been struggling with the brain fog and the fatigue from the bioweapons that I mistakenly took, the Pfizer one and the booster, a long time ago. But I've been taking some colloidal silver, and this is not medical advice, but I just been taking colloidal silver. Been about a couple weeks, maybe a little more, maybe going on to 3 weeks now. I haven't really kept track. But I think it's been helping restore my energy, as well as like maintaining like things like minerals and electrolytes is something that I forget about. I do head over to the gym and I do sweat it out at time to time. So you'd be sweating out some nutrients too. Like I'm trying to sweat out the toxins, but also you're sweating out some nutrients, and you could forget that. So thank you, the internet folk that remind me about coconut water. Appreciate that. So yeah, I've been skipping breakfast since like July or August. Just skip breakfast. You don't really need it. Fast a little longer. And I'm maintaining my 175, ish pounds, which is nice. Many years ago, like 5 years ago, I was like 215, 220. So I've lost a little more than a couple bags of cat litter. So that feels good. I still have a tiny gut that I'm working at. Look, look, I've been eating some bread lately that has soy in it. I know, right? Not the best shit for me, but I just, can't help myself. I still enjoy the taste of French bread and Italian bread and just bread in general. I enjoy it. And they put poisons in it. It's not a whole lot, but I think it's enough to kind of maintain that little belly that I got. And I could be doing more at the gym. I just, my ups and downs and everything. I've been doing this a few years with the gym, and I work out pretty regularly. I could always do more. Everyone always could do more. I'm just kind of bored. I want to do other stuff, but I'm kind of like, look, I guess I'll work out. Yeah, I'd rather, like if I had an easy way to like the wilderness or something, I'd be hanging out there, building a fort or something. Like, look what I made for some maybe homeless person to stumble across, and they can make it, their home. Yeah, I'd be watching a lot of those survival, like, person goes out, even women, man, these videos are very impressive. But I need to stop watching like the Asian ones and everything, and like just I need to try to find more like in the Rockies in America, because they just be using like bamboo and shit, and it's like, man, I don't have access to a bunch of bamboo trees, all right, and nothing racist, just like I don't have that. Like, that's cool and everything that you do that stuff, and it's very useful material, and you could like eat it too, so it's like even easier for survival. I need to see some, stuff that's more relevant to me in my part of the world here. So, and that's all. That's all that is. So yeah, I want to write a book about all this. It's not going the best. I really feel that I need to have a sidekick, but I'm really not trying to use AI. I was pondering, like, if I have to use AI, like, could you, like, rearrange my paragraphs in, a way that flows better? Like, maybe ask AI to do that for me. The beginning of it kind of, like, the beginning of the book, I don't know. I mean, I would, it's like the beginning of my life that's really hard to think about. So I don't know if it's like going to be the best part of the book, because there's all this stuff that I want to talk about like now, and the stuff the past few years that I've been figuring out that I really want to talk about. So the beginning is like, and then I need to get into my most darkest time of my life, like in my 20s, after they've been like secretly torturing, mind controlling me, and experimenting on me for a couple decades. Then, like, I'm at my, like, absolute, like, most ruined and darkest and shit. And then I need to, I've been getting, like, suppressed for a whole lot, too. I'm like, I'm going to run for president, and they're like, do what the people want. And they're like, that's crazy. You mean clean drinking water and tax the rich? Like, that's crazy. And then getting totally suppressed by armies of people and shit. And then I actually do gain support and traction for the president thing, but then I learn that it's like some bitch for the fucking deep state, which I don't want to. No, I'm against that shit. I'm against. You're going to take a shit on your new world order, maybe enough to like destroy it, and we go back to the old world order, our world order, the people's world order, And that means, not being able to control and govern over everyone. But that's what, like, the false idols of your world do. They're like, no, it's just us, and we gotta have, poison the people, in so many aspects that it totally disconnects them, and then show us our fucking pretty faces for the bread and circus that we groom. We groom them all, from your music artists to your sports and everything. Even just normal artists, because we hide our evil bullshit in that too, like the 9/11 people, the 9/11 doers, fucking hiding their explosives in art projects. This is just an art project. Just like they go to places all across Africa, and and lately in Burkina Faso, what I learned about, and they be hiding a lot of their poisons and toxins in agricultural supplies. Agricultural art, nothing wrong here, okay? We're just totally innocent. Are you? and data collection centers that act like massive dues on the population. And then, then it increases the LGBTQ numbers, which that doesn't make those people bad either. But they're like, that's why you always see a trans with their fucking face in their phone and shit, and they're like scrolling and shit. Like, trans people are very mind controlled, extremely mind controlled. And they like need to have that electronic thing. I even went to like a sex party with a trans and her boyfriend and a crossdresser and shit. And yeah, I'll admit to it, whatever. I didn't really perform that well just because like I get like really nervous when I'm around others, and they knew this shit when I was a child. But anyway, I tried to participate. And anyway, but I was saying, yeah, there was this trans chick, and we're at this sex party, and she's like fucking scrolling her phone and shit, like most of the time. It was so weird. It was so weird. It's like, even at a sex party, you're going to fucking like be like that. And they send me like miserable people though too, to like be miserable. So like maybe that was part of it, you know. Because there's those child protectors out there that like, they're like, no, we got one here. We got ourselves a predator. So let's fucking make, even though we've been preying on him his whole life, but we don't really know that, so we feel good about it. So, might as well masturbate at that point. Might as well jerk off. It'd be less destructive on your world, too. But anyway, so they do that. I know I just heard that one guy that helped Kurt Cobain. Like, there was this book that, sorry, Kurt Cobain, by somebody, and his buddy helped him write it. And they sent me a bunch of like trap house bullshit. Like I'm with somebody and I'm renting a room from them, and it's just like 3 or 4 people, and then suddenly there's like a dozen or 2 people, and they're like all doing meth, and they're like and all this shit around me, and they tried getting me into that shit. They send me a bunch of people that I get a bad feeling about, just like, that one guy that let these few people in, 2 or 3 dudes in, and like, man, I think they got, some ill intent. That was your ESP stuff and your other senses kicking into gear, being like, yeah, something's, these guys do got other intent. And I after like learning all this, stuff about suicides, I don't believe that shit. One, that Robin Williams didn't commit suicide. They were all murdered secretly. Every suicide I see now is just a secret murder. Yeah, they do get people to like harm themselves because they have all sorts of ways. Like they have ways of making me feel really empowered or really horny or really depressed. They had all sorts of things that they could hit you with wirelessly to make you feel like that, but also chemically too. My shirt here is, you probably can't tell, this black on my pants here, which is like a polyester, does not fade. This does, my shirt. And my shirt here, bottom of the shirt is really, really black because I usually have it tucked in. The white, the upper part of my shirt here, it's lighter, and I don't know if you could tell more, but I'll bunch it up here. So there's the bottom, and here's the top. So there's like a little bit of reddish purple here because the chemicals that they spew into my fucking apartment at times, being an MK Ultra or Project Monarch, fucking fucks with the dye and the clothing that I wear, especially when it's like cotton clothes. It'll mess with the dye. Maybe there could be like some sort of test kit. How they have the roofie thing where you stick your nail polish in the drink and it changes color. Maybe they could have that like with fabric for us targeted individuals, and make something that changes color. Like, oh, if this box here turns purple, that's because you're getting exposed to this. And just have it all on the shirt, just so you fucking, can know, like, what's going the fuck on. And have some proof, too. It's like, yeah, I'm just wearing the shirt, and it's changing colors all of a sudden. Have stuff that definitely reacts to Roundup too, because they fucking love spewing that shit in people's apartments, and then denying it and make it look like you're crazy. And it's like, yeah, no, like all this connection between Ukrainians, Zionists in my neighborhood, and a friend from Taiwan, having a bunch of coworkers that used to work for U.S. Intel, you know. Like, I say that shit in the fucking 80s and 90s, and people were like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's pretty fucking obvious now. So yeah. Things have been nicer. I haven't been going as fast. I've snapped off at some people, some of my people too. I'm very sorry. I hope you could forgive me. Um, I don't feel right about going back to that one club because it just, it feels very Zionisty. They're all involved in that, LGBTQ stuff, very Zionisty. They want to get me one of theirs installed in my life, and I just don't feel like it. I feel it's going to be very hard to find another partner just because of the abundance of infiltrators and people, having their own agenda, which doesn't align with my divine mission. My divine mission is to help the people out, not no billionaires or millionaires or any of those corrupt shits, but everyone else. Like, we owe a debt. We owe a debt to the world, especially with like making prosthetics for free to give to people that we've ruined that need these prosthetics. Not this $37 trillion made up, you owe the bankers. Fuck the bankers. You know? We owe an actual debt, and those are the actual debts. And maybe some farming equipment so people could be actually self-sustaining. I know they don't want people like that. They want them dependent on the system. And then, if you upset, if you about it, then we're going to fucking make quakes in the system or, destroy little parts here and there. And then get your peasants to fight amongst yourselves. That they treat you as, that they see you as, I don't see you as that. I get very upset when I see that tired peasant. She's a very good woman. But she just names herself like a very, like, you don't want to, she'd be tired queen, not tired peasant. If you say tired peasant, then you're kind of manifesting that. But if you say tired queen, then you'll be manifesting that, is all. So I don't get totally upset, but I'm just like, man, you should pick a different screen name or something. Anyway, I wish her well. She got rooked by some demon recently, and like, oh, dude, don't worry, I'll totally help you out with money. And then she got steered into another state. I was actually offering her, I'm like, come down to, Denver or Colorado, check it out. And then she ended up in a different state. She was trying to get out of Florida, I think. Anyway, and then some dude ended up taking like almost 10 grand or maybe a little more from her, from money that she raised. And it's like, man, why did you rely on someone else? You see that's that fucking, you got to watch out for those infiltrators and those two-facers and oh, sure, I'll help you out, and then the dude is like, I might harm myself because blah, 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 blah. And now he's trying to get sympathy for after stealing, like, a bunch of money from someone. And it's like, man, that's totally like Zionism 101. Is you fucking victimize somebody and then you act like the victim. Very demonic or narcissistic. But yeah, I also told myself that, look, I don't want to go out anywhere or do anything until I actually like made a lot of progress with the book. I haven't really been adding anything new to my book. A little stuff here and there, but I've just been kind of touching up what I've already written. So I haven't made that much progress on the book. So I'm like, well, now I'm just going to have to maybe stick to that and not go out and not do anything and just... people, could reach out and like, interact with me through the internet, but they don't. They get their people to like not do that. And it's like, okay, You can send me an email. Um, but anyway, yeah, I was thinking, I don't really know what to do except write the book. It does kind of participate in the system somewhat, writing a book and then, like selling it and blah blah blah. I'm gonna have it for free too. So, but put it on like archive.org or some shit. See if the Wayback Machine could do it too. And just other places to just find it for free. But it seems like the least evil thing that I could, do. Like, first of all, it's part of disclosure. You know, it's not that evil, but it's still going to produce money for the bankers. Like somewhere along the lines, is going to take a cut. And it's going to be some person. Let's say I make let's say over the lifetime of the book I make a $500,000 or $1 million from it or some shit like that. They're going to fucking they're going to make a cut from that. You know, and I'm not trying to help them out. They should actually redistribute the wealth, which they're not going to do willingly. You got to force them to do that. But that's why they got everybody compartmentalized. They got their little programmers programming their AI that they're going to like turn on the people. They got people making robots and shit. Because people are harder to control. So even the cops and shit that are going to crack in ICE and all that, like when the population is successfully called, which I don't think they'll be successful, but they'll be successful at some violence for sure. And then the police and ICE become the next threat. So guess who's got to go? After that. Maybe keep a small percentage of them for your personal elite security. Make it look like an accident. What happened to the other ones. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to, manipulate people. And maybe use the robots to fucking call them in. And, alright, execute order 66. And then they're fucking, taking out, the cops and ICE. And then they just, they maintain their little slave population that they want to maintain their machines and their fake king, false idol statuses. That's what it's all about. And there's this spiritual warfare that's been going on that like people don't, realize that they got born into, and that they're just so ruined. So disconnected that they can't see it, and there's so many lies that even fuels the atheism and all that shit. And and source or God, whatever you want to call it, fucking doesn't want you to worship it, but that's what false ones do. And they want you to worship just them. God would rather have you just live a decent life and take care of yourselves. Many natives, maybe all natives get it right. The colonial disease often gets it wrong and decimates the native populations and replaces like Native Americans used to live in fucking teepees in the dead of winter. This thin fucking layer. And just with the design of how they did everything, they could survive the fucking winter. But, settlers and everything fucking froze to death in cabins. And, they just have their less inefficient ways of doing things. And they're like, aren't we great? And it's like, no, you're not really. Like Native Americans used to heat up rocks and shit, and then they'll bring them to bed with them, and it would stay warm all night. But then, like modern day, those little hand warmers, they don't even last as long as something as simple as a heated rock. Just a heated rock. And yeah, and there's all this stupid modern tech because it's a bunch of false idol bullshit going around here. There's stupid endless pollution that they enjoy doing. That's why they silence those people that There's that dude in Africa that was turning plastic waste into diesel, and then that guy got silenced too because all this banker corporate bullshit that are going around because they're trying to fucking litter the fucking lands. That's why I'm like, look, if the bankers and everyone's going to live from this and keep their one mansion or something, then the people have a right to fucking load that up with a bunch of fucking trash. And they have to clean it up themselves. That's totally fucking fair, because what did you do to the planet? You fucking trashed it. So guess what? Maybe the planet gets together and trashes your shit. Rothschild and pals. So yeah. They should have their place trashed. Maybe that's where we tow it. Tow it to the Rothschild Island to fucking, process there. Gather all the ships and everything. Get the shit out of the Pacific Ocean, and we tow it to fucking Rothschild Island, where they could have their secret fucking stolen tech of turning plastic waste into fucking diesel fuel. And that could be like a diesel plant, and then they could have their beaches, and they could be warm beaches because they could have their fake little tech. They could have their fake little tech everywhere that they love so much. Their little fake false idol tech, where they could make warm beaches. Just in this particular area, have their little energy and have their, their free energy things that they have access to already, and have heaters near the edges of the Rothschild Island, so you can make a beach. You can make a nice warm beach, a nice warm artificial beach. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, it's been just a different year. I only just recently, I've been, I think I mentioned this a few times, but yeah, I just only recently been able to get comfortable to just, get changed in the locker room. I haven't, kind of coming awake last year and into this year. Yeah, I think the trajectory was really nice, because had I continued, kind of channeling all these entities without knowing what I actually was, it might have pushed me over the edge. So I got reined in a little bit, and that was nice and helpful, so I didn't go over the edge. And then I figured out, I'm like, oh, Mercury, so I'm the messenger of the gods, and that's why I sound so, schizophrenic at times when I am channeling. Although, it's a lot like Avatar, and something could tap into you when it needs to, and otherwise it just leaves you alone. But instead of me falling over like I'm a blank Avatar, like I'm just falling over sleeping, I'm still Chris and functioning when it's not using me. As the alien infiltrator it seems to be. Which happens to many people across, and I think that autistic stuff, oh my god. I should make separate videos for all this, these rants, but I think they're masking the autism. I think the autism was purposefully bred in American society, because they're trying to make an army of ESP people, because there's an ESP aspect to all this, right? But and I think all the poisonings and the vaccines, that's causing the ADHD. That's causing the ADHD, and maybe some things that could be confused as autistic, like facial blindness and the auditory processing disorder. And then things that's like a little bit of brain damage, but you're still able to function and whatnot. And it's exactly. So I know it hasn't been, as amazing as last year, but I think we're still on the right trajectory, and I feel good about everything, and I love everyone for helping and being understanding and patient. And I really thank you really. I do get some nice benefits, but the thing about that is okay, I get $30,000 a year in benefits. With the amount of crimes and everything that people, had occurred to me, Like just the one like throwing me in jail in 2014 after being attacked. I was attacked in 2014. I ended up in jail. I hit my attacker one time, the most minimal amount of force that I could give back to someone attacking me, and then I was the only one that ended up in jail. And they were counting on me to take a deal, like I did the first time. But I learned my lesson, right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I didn't want to make that same mistake again, so I took it all the way to the box. I got it acquitted. And what did the Freemason Illuminati people do? You know, I'm calling around for a lawyer. I'm like, yeah, I did 284 days in jail without any adjudication of guilt. It should be an easy case. You want to help out? No, it's not that you don't got a case. They got everyone to tell me this. They got every single one to tell me this. They're like, yeah, it's not that you don't have a case. It's just that, you know, we're not going to take it. Every fucking lawyer. And that was like the easiest open and shut fucking case. Why won't you help me out? They're like, well, you got to earn it with all your brain damaged, you know, and trained into your bad habits and Rufy possessing you, Chris. You're trying our hardest to make you, like, there was a time I was going to CCD as a kid, and I was going back to that Notre Dame thing, and they were doing this, let's feed the homeless, and that was so super fun. But I only did it one time, as though they, you know, and maybe they were expecting me to be more encouraging, but I was like kind of like in my cocoon at that time and traumatized and just on this weird autopilot, and I did kind of whatever people wanted me to do. And if they wanted me to do something, I would do it, and if they didn't want me to do something, I didn't do it. And that's kind of how I was. So, you know, with the feeding the homeless thing, that was really fucking fun, and you really enjoyed that. I think I might have even given some people some extra when I wasn't supposed to. You know, I never went back there. So, because they're like, see, he is not Jesus-like, you know, and they'll do stuff like that. You know, and it's like, why didn't I ever go back to that place that I had a lot of fun time with? You know, especially back then. You know, where people are like judging and assessing me and shit. Like I said, you know, I was like, you know, on a shitty autopilot, very dissociated. So I just kind of like did whatever people told me to most of the time, until my like 20s or 30s. It was a long time. I haven't really thought about it that much, so, you know. But yeah. They try to make you look like a loser, you know, and do stuff like that. And be like, oh, well, see, he didn't he didn't, you know, try to, you know, go back. So therefore, you know, he's a piece of shit or something, or he's not really into it. You know, it's like, man. So, what else? I don't know. Just a bunch of shit. Bunch of good stuff too. So, I mean, I can't say it's all shit. I'm just kind of self-aware. And some people don't like that. Some people that are faking it and faking their little status. Like, look, everyone's like a little god. Everyone is a little god. And in that sense, you could say that, you know, anyone, you know, Zionists are part of God. But why would you? They're like the worst part. They're like master in manipulation, lying, betraying, two-facing, violence, you know, impunity, making laws for other people to follow so you could just fucking manipulate everyone else. Just like they have all the fucking Freemasons and all the other cults that they infiltrate fucking played out. They're like, look, you're just going to do this compartmentalized part, and we could come in at any time and fuck up all your shit. You know, and you know, you shouldn't stand for that shit either. And I think the humans are responsible enough, many of them, but the ones that they're like, look, if other people get this technology, they'll use it as a weapon, and it'll be like really bad and everything. And it's like, yeah, you're the. Sorry, I guess my thing, the size limit was reached. So Yeah, they're the ones doing it. They're the ones with all the technology that they're suppressing, or to keep it amongst themselves, so they could, sell you, these little power storage things and endless batteries, and not use the free, wireless electricity that's all around everywhere on the planet because they can't make money off that. That's why they silenced Nikola Tesla. So they can have their fucking little cosplaying, their fake king and false idol status, cosplaying God. And they're able to hit certain frequencies onto the planet to do all sorts of things, make storms, steer them into, populations. They do that shit intentionally. Like that stuff that's happening all across the world and the fucking America, that's intentional. The wildfires. They get a bunch of people that they hire in it trickles down to the gangs and everything. They find some goons to, hey, start some fires, guys, start some fires. To mask the fucking lasers that they're using to start fires. And the lasers could set everything on fire except blue. And then all the blue stuff survives. Whoa, so strange. And then they fucking, add things to the atmosphere to add fucking water. And they're all doing it because of these space alien treaties and all that shit. Like, when I see the protests and whatnot, you guys need to be protesting for better space alien treaties. Just trust me. Throw that in there. So the fucking, what you guys are demanding. You need newer, better space alien treaties. And I don't think there's too many humans, but the way that you're fucking living and trashing up the place, you could say, yeah, there's too many humans that are doing horribly evil things in positions of power. You could say that. Trashing the planet. They don't need all the trash in the oceans. They want the trash in the oceans, though. That's why, as I said before, the bankers and everything, they should have their place trashed, for trashing the planet. That's not cruel or unusual. Just like, getting Gates and all them that push the vaccines, as a punishment, they should actually take the vaccines. Not what I feel they've taken water vaccines, fake vaccines. They got water injections. But we should give them the real one and their children. And that's not cruel or unusual because they did it to billions of you and your children. So, okay, you could live through this, but here, we got, 147 injections for you. Hope you're ready for it. Yeah, and maybe fucking lock them up during that time, too. Just to make sure they fucking can't get access to fucking things that will help them. Counter that stuff. Just like they did to all of you. Have that karmatic, attribute. So yeah. I guess I'll just leave it here. I've ranted about enough for about an hour, but there's a lot of good people out there that are, just keep doing your thing. We're all working through you. So just, keep it up. And I love you all very much, the nice ones, and whatever to everyone else. All right. So yeah, I hope things are changing because I am a reflector apparently, and so I've been changing my mindset, and working on me lately. Although I still have my few flaws. All right, I still have my few flaws. I get I got my demons contained in my masturbation sphere. So at least there's that, and I'm not being influenced by some pretty face, some demonic pretty face. Um, I don't know what happened to that last one, that last video. It just got all weird. But anyway, I've been working on myself, and I'm not perfect, but there I got grown up in the fucking dark empire that does horribly dark evil things to people secretly, and I don't know what else to say, but I think I turned out pretty well, given the circumstances. Hey, kitty, where you at? just heard you. Anyway, she just ran somewhere out of my sight. Anyway, yeah, I've been letting my cat roam around, the balcony here. Just my other neighbor did it with her cats, and I didn't want my cats fighting, so I never let her out. So now, I hope she's okay, and doing well. Um, and now I'm not. Now that she doesn't live here anymore, I just kind of let my cat out, and she really enjoys that. And thank you. I guess she taught me this without directly teaching me this, because I just pick up. If I know you, I'm going to probably very likely 99% of the time pick up one habit from you, because I am a reflection of the people. So I pick up, certain things. And that's another thing is like I am so ruined and everything because the population is massively ruined. So, and I am a reflection of that. And that's why I got a tiny gut. And I can only speak English and bad English. And, I guess I have my masturbation perversions for now. But again, I think that's, nicely contained because whether you're getting hooked up with one of theirs as a child, or in your adulthood, it's much better to not be manipulated by a handler, which we got to deal with a lot. Us targeted individuals got to deal with the handler that would totally marry us, totally fuck us, totally have our baby, and totally betray us. So, which is what I suspect happened to Charlie Kirk. Because they were trying to manipulate and hijack me like they do to other people. And they're like, well, just put them through the normal system. Put the messenger of the gods through the normal system, is what their, goal was. And so they could distort what I was channeling so they could continue cosplaying their thing. So then when I'm not fucking all manipulated by them, they are super pissed. And good, I guess, I get super pissed about trash in the oceans and you fucking with billions of people and their fucking children. Could I be pissed about that? There's, like, people do not realize, if they realized how fucking, evil the shit was, that'd be worldwide riots fucking that same day. That same fucking day, instead of all your controlled opposition. Here, protest over there, you fucking peasants. There, just, look, be peaceful. Be peaceful, okay? There's the only thing, but when you are getting encouraged to be violent, then it's going to be fucking, some FBI plants and CIA trying to distract you over there. So hold the line. Hold the line, especially, yeah, they do the putting bricks, pallets of construction bricks in, like, black neighborhoods during black protests. And then they get your sellout black people to be like, look, guys, some bricks. Why don't we all grab them? To try to encourage others. Power of suggestion is very powerful form of manipulation. So, yeah, just watch it for that. You do rightfully. You should take your hijacked government back. That should be the people's fucking responsibility and right. And right. There's nothing illegal about it. What's going on? A bunch of traitors looting America, a bunch of money going, being dished out, and none of it going to help them, except there's a bunch of immigrants being poured in, a bunch of ICE to take care of that. Invented problem. The elites invent the problem, and then they invent the solution, and then they're going to turn the ICE on the people, and they're going to try to do this New World Order bullshit. And yeah, I think the people do have the right to take their fucking government back. Like, what the fuck, And there should be like clauses and things too. Like, if your leader isn't like actually representing you or the things that they, said that they'll do. You should be able to, like, expel them or, purge them, before an election, have emergency elections. But that shit could be perverted too to get rid of the good ones. So you got to watch it. But yeah, like the only way you guys could lose really is if you just all follow the scripts that you all been taught. If you all just keep following the scripts that you've been taught and trained and born into and programmed on, then you lost. But if you're able to break the script, if you're able to, I need to get rid of this here. You need to be able to fuck the script, then you can win. So, and this involves everybody, even the people that get roofie molested a whole bunch, into their adulthood, and then have the community have their children feel themselves up around them in an attempt to try to get them to trauma respond on their child that they fucking been trauma responding since they were a child. The fucking fuck is going on here. The fucking fuck. And people are like, it's all good, and it's like, no, it's not all good. And yeah, especially the Alba Stars. The Alba Stars like really love to fucking sexually shame people. Like I can't really, the ethics to philosophy class I went to in college. I took a few semesters in college, a few classes. And that would pose like weird situations and everything, and not being Epstein the evil version, but let's just say it's Castaway. But it's also a 15-year-old girl there too, and maybe they hang out for a year or two, and then they decide to have sex and make a baby. That was their business, and that was nobody else's. Like they'll be on the island, stranded, trapped, trying to survive day to day, and they'll be like, "But what would people think of this?" Well, what other people think don't matter. What matters is what you guys consent to, and consent is key. And informed consent is key. Might I add? Because they'll be like, "Oh, consent, we could definitely fool that." No, I want informed consent. And they're like, yeah, well, I guess this is a shitty situation, but over the past year or two, you've really grown on me, and we all have our humanly urges to reproduce, and, this is just the opportunity that I have. Not busting them in, or flying them in, or boating them in, or anything like that. But there's also... So apparently I lost one of the videos. I don't know what the fuck happened. Between the big 50-minute one and the last one that I just kind of combined. So this would be like the third one. Anyway, I was talking about, especially when you get, the teens chasing money. Teens chasing money. And you teach your kids this. Like you're trying to pay your bills and mortgage. And money is good and da-da-da-da-da. And you don't, really teach them... But, I mean, it's up to the family. Like, I'm just saying it's up to the family. I'm not trying to participate in that stuff. I think the almost adults is like whatever fair, like you fool adults with it, with your ID, getting cigarettes and busting people left and right and blah blah blah, and then you could sexually shame them when they do the Chris Hansen thing, after you sexually abuse the shit out of them. It should have been nothing but Zionists on those Chris Hansen show, but it wasn't, was it? It was other people that were being sexually abused, probably unknown to them for their whole fucking lives. And then, but anyway, I think that stuff's fair. That's just up to the family. That's up to the family. That's none of my business. That's none of your business. Things would be a lot more peaceful if you just let the families be families and try not to make society so shitty that they don't want to participate and they just keep it within the family. All right. But that's their fucking business. All right. Having freedoms allows uncomfortable, awkward things and even evil in the shadowy corners of the world. All right. And that's just always going to be like that. And you got to make peace with that. Otherwise, you're just always going to be at war. That's what am I going to do? After learning all this stuff, and even the Alba Stars tried recruiting me, like as a man, maybe I could be like one of them, and I could do secret, abusive things to other people and other targets, and blah blah blah. I don't want to do that stupid bullshit. Fuck you. I don't want to contribute to a greater hell. No, thank you. I'm not trying to do that. I'm sorry that you all got fooled into that. I'm glad that some of you are focusing on the Zionists, instead of the sexually abused victims that were sexually abused as children that people care so much about, right? But hey, they turned over 18 now, so it's all good, you know? So yeah, chasing money. You guys have money. People chase it. Teens chase it. I think a lot of it's fair. Okay, some Diddy did stuff with some teenagers. Did he roofie them? That was wrong. But just you got these false idols. You teach them to worship them, and then your teenage daughter gets like, I want to have their baby. Just maybe you focus on other idols and stuff like that. But then there's some families that are into it. So maybe just like, mind your own business and, and then there'll be less, less need for it because then, people have their group doing their thing. Because, the federal government is involved in all the sex trafficking thing. And then they don't like other people doing it. And then, it's like, okay, well then just, maybe just be a little more honest and open, and then you could have, the demons over there doing their thing, and the angels over here doing their thing, and there'll be some crossover because some angelic families will birth demons, and some demonic families will birth angels, and just a little more balance instead of all this fucking war, because what contributes a lot. Well, a lot contributes to the mass molestations. It's about finding targets like me early on. It's about making a bunch of decoys and patsies for the mob, so the elite pedophiles could get away with it. They're like, oh, let's just molest more guys and fucking, and then we'll fucking steer the mob their way when whichever ones we could get to start sexually airing, and it's really evil. Yeah, it's really super villainy evil. So a lot of things contribute to it, but there's also an abundance of demons in the church, so they just enjoy doing that. And then I'm like, well, maybe you guys should make like, a child version of a sex robot, which is really controversial. It's like, really? They're making adult versions of robots to steal your husband away from you, from their wife and everything. They're doing it with artificial intelligence already, and they're separating couples already, married couples, with their artificial intelligence bullshit. And they're trying to do that with the sex robot thing. Be like, you don't need a wife, you need our sex robot. And it's like, and that's that karmatic thing that I'd be doing. I'm like, yeah, let's make a version for them. And I don't care. It's a bunch of fucking rubber and wires. It's not a human being. Shut the fuck up. And there's your cognitive dissonance there. If you can't handle that shit, then you've been like programmed by Zionists. And you've been programmed for the war mindset, the forever war. It's like, dude, if it saves some children and everything, then let that happen. It's an inanimate object, like, so the fuck what it looks like, and because I'm like, yeah, maybe you guys should like have something to like, reduce the numbers of molestation, but it's a great intent. They do it to find ones like me. They do it to recruit as well. They do it to make a bunch of decoys. And that's why they get protection from their little elite buddies. Like George Bush gave them like the Catholic Church immunity or something from all the molestation. It's like, what the fuck? I deserve to be compensated. As I was saying earlier, they kept me from a lawsuit, an easy lawsuit, 284 days in jail. That's almost a year in jail. People get like $1 million a year for wrongfully serving sentences. So I see it as losing $1 million. So they give me this benefit of like 30 grand a year, but I should have a lot more than that. Just on that one lawsuit alone, on top of all the other shit that the secret cover-up shit, murdering members of my family, murdering my father secretly, and sure, the poisons in the food contributed to that, but there are ways of accelerating diseases and untimely demises. like tracking my grandfather's movements, being amongst the Freemasons and being the little secret covenant part of the two-facey betraying Freemasons. They'll make sure that the walkway is icy this one day, but you can't see the ice. By adding salt to it or something. I don't know. There's a way to make ice without, so it freezes very clear. I don't know if it's like very pure water, like distilled water, or adding salt to it. But there's some sort of technique to do that, and they use that knowledge, and then they'll get you one day. Make sure you fall. You don't recover from the fall. My grandfather had an aneurysm after he fell, and that was a covert assassination too that I can't prove because they like the plausible deniability bullshit. And then my grandparents being constantly hit with dues and making them go mentally insane, like the voiced call stuff that my other grandfather fucking suffered from. And just yeah. And it was like so they did that to Julian Assange in jail. Make my grandfather hear voices, so then I could get like a little voice recorder, and then it was a cassette one at the time. So it was a long time ago, and I had a little cassette recorder, and I played it back for him, and he didn't hear any noises, and he was very confused. And I was doing the work for them unknowingly at the time, because I didn't know about this other aspect to it. Just like, when I'm like, yeah, they roofie molest a bunch of children into their adulthood, and then they get like the child protectors to like, menace them, which just adds to someone's lifelong torture, which doesn't, like, if you're looking for good karma and all that stuff, that is not the way to go about it. But if you're just looking to feel good and everything, then I recommend masturbation and over that shit, because you're going to, you know how much you know about people, like that much. There's shit that they might not even know about. I'm so fortunate that I have, like, including the Colorado Springs roofie, I have, like, 7 roofie recalls. And that's that. I was probably roofie molested a whole lot more than 7 times, but I at least have that 7 to figure things out. So yeah. So I'm sorry. There was like 5 or 10 minutes that is totally like gone. I was like recording, and then I like look back at the phone, and it's at the normal like screen, like the camera app just crashed or some shit. That didn't get saved apparently. But anyway, so yeah, I just and they do it for the psychological warfare too, because there's that eyes wide shut shit that's going on too, and it's like, yeah, like, I guess I could confuse, I have a hard time telling almost adults from adults. Yeah, and that's a possibility, like me hooking up with like an of age adult, right? But I have a hard time telling. But then I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, okay, I hook up with some 20, 21, 22-year-old. I don't have anything in common. I don't have anything in common with them. Like, how do I even make that work? Right? Unless it's like some survival, like weird situation, like you got in a plane crash and you're on some fucking island or something. Like, I don't have anything in common with them. I know they're like super excited because they're like, we want to mate with Mercury and blah, blah, blah. And we want to have a child of God. So there's that, the child of God aspect of it, or indigo child, or however you want to say it. But yeah, I'd rather prefer, when I think about it, I met a lovely woman last year. She was in a black dress, but, the people, they're like, well, you had your chance. You were possessed and everything, and you fucking, did your little push them away possession thing that you do often, Chris. So, no more chances with that one. And it's like, okay, well, they did seem lovely, although they looked like someone that I was really infatuated with when I was younger. So they do that look-alike thing too. So when they do that look-alike thing, it really makes me feel like you're trying to manipulate me at that point. Whether it's the universe trying to, hook me up with my, actual soulmate or a false soulmate, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell if it was the possession last year, when I was still seeing the jinn roam around, or if it was my greater self. Now, chances are, because I saw a black shadow kind of pull me away from her, it was weird. I like went not present, and then I got like pulled away, and I also saw like a black shadow. It was so strange. That sounds like it was the possession, but there's a chance. Sure, there's a chance that it was my greater self as well. And a lot of these women are seem lovely, but also I mentioned in a previous video that maybe they have such a big family that they're just they could be extorted and threatened very easily. So maybe that wasn't a good option either, because they could be very controlled with threats of violence. In my current position, like I take things as a positive, and I've almost always, I can't say always, but almost always take things as a very positive. And I forget the point that I was trying to make. But anyway, maybe it'll come back to me. Well, just like I was saying, like they put me on Social Security, tried gaslighting me as crazy and everything. I look at that as my little benefits for being a government experiment, for being experimented on. Now it's not as much as I definitely deserve, but it's better than nothing too. So I'm able to do a little bit with it. And I always saw it as like, look, I was trying to run for president and everything, but I don't want to be no deep state bitch. So plans change here and there. And I always saw it as like, look, I got this thing that's helping me out in my time of need, and that should be something that I fight for other people, and I took it as a positive, and I really, really do try to do that. I turned out very well, since people are using sex and relationships. It makes sense that I just kind of enjoy masturbation instead. This was very apparent to me, or apparent to the community, the occult community, when I was a child. I think they tried doing sexual things with me when I was a child with some of their children. Like they tried hooking me up with, like we're both 7 or 8 years old, and they tried hooking me up with one of theirs, and they got this little sexual demonic freak. And they tried hooking me up, but it's so traumatic for me that, like, and they're like, man, that's strange. But it's also very telling. Like, the asexual ones are very telling for the demons that run everything. They're like, this one's coming for us. And they see it, when we're children. So then they're like, well, this one's coming for us, so let's fucking attack it. When they're really young. So, yeah. I'm trying to still think of that. But anyway, I just like to take the positive out of things, and it's all about your mindset, and the universe does respond to that, and that's why I think things have been really nice to me. I mean, things have been very destructive too. People could gather their pitchforks and torches and give you hell as well. Wrongfully so. But yeah, I think I really did turn out very, very, very well. I am also very ruined by great intents. I wish I had better skills, but many of the skills, like I tried learning 3D animation and Micromedia Flash when it was around. Even all the way back to, I think it was Micromedia Act 2.0 or 2.5 that I used to play with as a child. And it's like one of those early versions of the animation stuff. And they really tried, but I don't need to know any of that stuff for life. And there's a lot of stuff that people don't need to know that they teach people about. You live a very decent life without all the knowledge, without most of the skills and knowledge that you have. Have skills in things that don't matter. Have a lot of knowledge in things that don't matter. So yeah, Also in a world of lies, being born within the empire, there's lies and everything. So me limiting my exposure to a bunch of edited books. I'm not saying that there's not good books out there, but if I read a bunch of BS information, that doesn't really help me. So it's almost beneficial to just, wing it without that information and to see what I could pull from the ether, than reading some nonsense, right? Because they've had a lot more than hundreds of years. They've had thousands of years to edit books, edit many of your religious books. I think the Muslims have done really great at not getting the Zionists to taint their religious texts, where Christians have had, not as much success with that, and they are susceptible to the Zionist edits that clearly are edits and clearly are lies that fuels the atheism that they enjoy fueling. Like the roaming around the desert for 40 years. Some bullshit. Takes like 6 or 7 days to walk across that bitch. So you're telling me you fucking roaming that shit for that long? And it's some punishment from God. God said punishment, so then we served it. But if we just lie about it and get people to believe it, then feel sorry for us, because that's our number one. Feel sorry for victim after victimizing a bunch of people and tricking a bunch of Christians and Catholics into blowing up Jesus' people. And just standing there and look, just do the protests. That's all. Like, at least the flotilla should have had a lot more boats. If you guys would have overwhelmed them like the fucking Iran and Yemen overwhelms the Iron Dome, you guys would have been able to make it through. But they just had just enough. I'm still kind of debating whether Greta Thunberg is a psyop or not. Like, she's definitely an MK Ultra Project Monarch program, and she could totally be working for the elites and not even know about it. I'm glad that she was like, don't make this about me, make this about fucking Palestine. Good. Get back on, track there. But 50 boats wasn't enough, but maybe 200 would have been. Look, only a quarter of these boats are only going to get through. When you get up to like 200 or 300 numbers. But no, you just trickled in a few dozen here, and then, another dozen, all easily captured. But if you overwhelmed more and brought more than enough, expecting to be, captured, because it was just another show, it was just another controlled opposition, and there's a lot of good people in there, but you got controlled op. You got controlled op yet again. And that's the, thing about evil. But you could have been able to make it through there, and you guys should still be doing that. Should still be doing that. Okay, there's a ceasefire. Well, now the time to bring in the ships. But don't fucking expect them to not stop you. Expect them to stop you, and to fucking, you should overwhelm them to where they just can't stop you. They can't stop all of you. But you did it in numbers that, were very stoppable. And yeah. So yeah, I think I ranted enough here for the day. But like, what I'm going to do, like, I'm not going to have people weaponize my sexual abuse, and hunt other people that they're like, that's a predator over there, you should fucking do this secret thing to them, and then do that to them, and then I'm not doing that stupid shit. I'm not trying to yes man, evil data into people's possession, even though, like, if, I possessed it, that's fine. This is something that Mikey did to me a long time ago. If I ever see that motherfucker again. Anyway. So yeah, yeah, I was a total yes man. Like, you fucking torture someone their whole life, and then in their, like, late teens, early adult years, like, you're able to, like, get them to yes man stuff when they coming over to your house looking for some music. They're like, how about this bullshit? It's just to rile up the mob. Anyway, but they do their fucking little recruitment thing too, and I'm like, yeah, I guess you guys could go do that, and they do that, but I'm just not going to partake in it. Okay, so I'm not going to make a big deal out of it because there's a lot of people. It's like families raise their families how they fucking see fit, and I just and that leaves awkward situations. But that's better than the endless war, the endless warring, and the forever battles. Not reaching harmony ever or a balance. It's better than all that shit. I'll tell you. You guys got enough forever problems without like inventing some of your own. And yeah, a lot of people get rooked. A lot of people get rooked, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't realize what they're doing. They're just, that one Mikey kid fucking wanted me to encouraged me to break into the Funkoland because they try to fucking get people, right? And that was one of them. But I turned it into like, let's make fake store credit receipts and have the employee put it in a bag and say thank you, and then give it to all, your friends and your friends' friends and your friends' friends. So then, it's just a bunch of random people doing this, and just do it once because they fucking spanked us, so we're going to spank them. And then, and that's what that was about. So I turned a really horrible entrapment idea that they were trying to entrap me in into a much better idea. And I didn't realize that they were all community policers or all involved in community policers and all this gang shit at the time. And that was like avoiding one of their traps. But I also did it in a badass way, in a Robin Hood way. Take from the rich, give to the poor. Fuck yeah. Sounds really nice. I like that. Yeah, while you're throwing trash around the bankers' houses, feel free to like grab an item or something too. So yeah, I'm just gonna, continue living my life. It's been very mind-blowing. The great processing has kind of calmed down and ended. My brain has stopped screaming and all the realigning and realization. I'm still kind of connecting dots here and there, but I've connected a lot of them to like, whoa, you know. So yeah, I'm just gonna like move on with my life. It's a little different trajectory than I thought it was. People don't realize that the president is just like a little bitch, and I don't want to be a little bitch. I want to actually be for the people. So, but they want to make me like a supervillain too, right? So I don't want to do that either. So maybe it's best that I do kind of just talk to the camera or make a blog eventually or something, or I don't know about a podcast. I don't want to waste it wouldn't be wasting people's time, but then again it would. It's just another fucking show, you guys hearing the truth, you sitting in front of the fucking screen, hearing the stuff. I don't intend on making videos like these all the time. I just kind of want to get some shit off my chest, and that's what I'm doing with these, because I'm struggling with my book right now. So while I'm struggling with my book and that urge to get that shit off my chest, is I'm just going to make these videos and kind of talk about some of the fucked up stuff that I have to talk about in my book, you know. So yeah. And I'm just going to move on with my life from the sexual abuse. I kind of don't remember it. I don't need to remember it. I remember enough. I'm not going to be weaponized into attacking other people. Your other brothers and sisters that might be sexually erring slightly because unknown to them, they got molested a whole bunch into their adulthood. You know, it's very cute that, people did, or evil. Cute and evil that people did the things that they did to me. I'm not really into breeding. That's their thing. Or stealing cum from condoms. That's their thing. Maybe even just to simply get my DNA so they could specialize their dues too, their direct energy weapons. But there's a lot of evil corporate banker shit going on here that is the source of your world's problems. From earthquakes to shitty space alien treaties to all the child sex trafficking and the weird, the worst stuff, like the experimenting on them against their will and shit. You know, torturing them, not using anesthesia. You know, keeping them underground, in your secret military bunkers. Military have hands in that, but look, like these people are over there doing that stuff, those people are over there doing that stuff, and these people over here are doing the secret evil stuff, and look, we're just going to use national security and hide behind it like a pussy with a gun. You know? And yeah, all the cover-ups and destroying of previous societies, they're like, yeah, you can't handle this stuff. Yeah, you know, you really, you know, because other societies that came before you could handle that stuff, and other previous versions of humans could handle that stuff. So even this Ashton Forbes motherfucker, which it seems like they have you guys disclose, like all these people, like from Joe Rogan to Ashton Forbes and all these people, but well, particularly with you know, Ashton, you know, they get you to say stupid stuff. He's all like, oh yeah, fuck all the flat earthers and all the fucking other things. It's like, dude, look, there's like aliens and 3-eye atlas, ha ha ha. It's, yeah, like 30 miles long, and you know, like they dig into the rock just like they do on the moon and the earth. And like the ancients used to dig underground too, and the aliens do that, and the pedophiles on your planet do that. So why is that so much of a stress for you all to do that? And like for a 30-mile long fucking comet or asteroid coming through the fucking, you know, thing, why wouldn't some creatures dig in there? And yeah, there is technology to just poof them right here. But like, I don't know, you could take a car to the park, or you could walk. You know, there's different forms, different things. I don't think its purpose is necessarily to come and like visit Earth. I think its purpose is actually to raise the vibration of everyone that's so disconnected. And we see this occurring, so good. Maybe there's some other purpose. I don't know. Maybe they're having their bioweapons released that are targeted towards the lizard people, which is why they gathered up that one black-looking thing from that one guy that was keeping it in his safe back in September of 2025 there. He was releasing footage of it, and then he kept it in some sort of freezer thing. It was this like black-looking thing with tentacles that were like moving, and it grew out of a rock. You know, it was this little tiny thing, and then it grew into a thing bigger than my, you know, hand, about the size of my face by the last video that I saw. And then the men in black came and looking for it. It's like, you're not going to find all those. You're not going to find all those, and they're going to reproduce on the planet, and they're going to fuck some shit up for some of the evil that they're, you know, they're trying to collect them all to try to protect all the, like, you're going to make bioweapons to use against the people, then it's fair that some aliens shoot some bioweapons in here to fuck with you. You know, that's fucking fair, isn't it? You know? Maybe you guys won't be able to transform anymore. And that's another thing, like with the lizard people, use bells. Bells makes it harder for them to maintain their shape-shifting shape. So if you are curious, you know, the abundance of bells, make it like one of those little gang stalking situations where they can't get away from bells. You know, and then, you know how they go around, you hear about the stuff about the targeted individuals, and they used to go around, I would wear the mask, and they used to go around, they're like, nice mask, nice mask, nice mask, like everybody in town is like, nice mask, like from the store workers to like volunteers at the Catholic charities to the people at the Pikes Peak YMCA to just all over the place, just all over, nice mask, just all of a sudden, you know, and they'll get like people to say it to you like 100 times or 200 times a day, where you might actually get like one compliment or something, like on a normal, you know, not being targeted or you know, a psychologically warfare day, you might get like one, no, nice mask, maybe two compliments, nice mask. But then, you know, they get everybody to say that, just strangers passing you by, you know, they drop people off a couple blocks ahead of you, and then they go walk, you know, past you, and then they get picked up. People are like, why do they do that stuff? Because the fucking CIA and the fucking dark money shit funds that shit. That's why. Why do people post a bunch of untrue, Israel's hell shit? Why do they give? Because they're paying them $7,000 to fucking positive post. That's why. Because money. Money, money, money. Money is the source of your problems. Why your fucking, teens are chasing money and everything. And I don't think, that's the worst stuff that this world has to offer. It's when consent, when you don't have consent. Like, okay, you might be able to trick someone, into something sexual as an almost adult, like as like a rich, powerful person. But as long as, okay, you're not roofing them, you're not roofing raping them. You're just like, okay, your parents taught you all this stuff about money, not even directly, just indirectly taught you, about money, and money is important, and you got to have money, money, money. So we're going to use this money, money, money to like trick you into some sexual stuff. There's way worse stuff than that shit. Like, what the fuck? All this false flags, all this fake stuff going on. The false flags, like, attacking ourselves, murdering, like having some Americans, secretly work to murder other Americans, to rile up the Americans to fight other Americans, sounds like way more evil, just on that alone. But then there's the worst stuff, like, kidnapping women and making them do eating videos where they eat, and just other way, way, way worse, darker stuff. If people say that that's the worst stuff, especially with almost adults and adults, then you don't really know evil. You don't know evil. If you think that's the worst stuff, then you don't know evil. Plain and simple. And yeah. So, okay, I ranted for a couple hours here. I just want to move on with my life at this point. I'm not going to be rooked into using my sexual abuse to abuse others. I don't know shit about a lot of people. I think they got that shit right on George Zim, but look at that shit. Look at that shit. Now they're using that fucking, he has illicit child material to keep people from fucking further questioning him and getting answers out of him. They're using that for protection. Like how it's just the risks outweigh any of the benefits of of that stuff being illegal. It's just, and then they install it on all your anyone that they really want to get. They just install it on their fucking computer, and it's like, oh my god, like, what the fuck y'all doing? It's. I'm just saying, you guys got to do things a little differently, because y'all like are rooked into not making honey. And the hive isn't making honey anymore. It's making dog turds with throw up on it. And maybe you should do things differently. I'm not trying to encourage, anybody, doing things, but, also the endless copying and pasting of, evil data or whatever the fuck. I'm not into that game either. I'm not into getting upset at, like, who the fuck is making it? All right? Focus on fucking that. I don't care who's copying and pasting it. I want to, if you're going to make an issue out of it, make it like actually focus on, the actual issue instead of your forever whack-a-mole bullshit. And it's super easy to blackmail people. That's why they have it. That they want to they do all their shit so covertly. Like they want people affected by the EMF signals that they have roaming around here to be negatively affected by them. So they get rid of lead paint. Lead in the paint. They get rid of that. And they're like, oh, the children eating paint chips. Bitch, I never fucking, that wasn't the thing. Maybe like eating some like Elmer's glue, like putting that shit in your mouth or whatever. But like eating paint chips, what the fuck? And that's that power of suggestion bullshit too, and then they probably got some people to do that because they suggested it, just simply. So yeah, they work very covertly, very subtle, generationally, evils, until it all culminates. They're trying to culminate it into this new world order bullshit, which, we should hijack it and make it our world order. You know, they hijack systems, we could hijack it back. What the fuck, you know? So yeah, but if you guys just follow all your scripts and shit that they got all scripted out for you, then you guys are gonna fail. So you guys need to change somewhat, and I think that change is occurring, and change occurs slowly over time, in waves, just a lot like healing. And so yeah, I think we're on the right path. I'm sorry I'm taking so long. A lot of people are saying trust the divine timing. I'm believing that. Although there's some times where I'm a little wary. There's some days where I'm wary, and others are too. I'm sorry it's taking so long with the book. I really wish, I'm trying not to have that Zionist influence in there. So it's like, man, I got to do it alone, but I don't know if I could do it alone. That one, sorry, Kurt Cobain book that just came out. That one guy needed some help because he wasn't a writer, and I'm not really a writer too. So I don't know if I need to have a shadow writer or something, but I'm struggling with the first part of my book, which is an autobiography, which I struggle to even remember, like the early years of my life. So I don't know how good the beginning is going to be, but I want to get to all the exciting stuff that I want to talk about. But I got to make it through that like little bit first, And it hasn't been all bad, but there's definitely bad, and it is so messy, and the waters are so muddied. It's just unbelievable. But anyway, I'm just going to let families do their thing. How am I going to deal with people, offering me secretly, their underage children? I'm just going to fucking move on and not participate. But I would still find it cute. I'm not going to get angry about it either. There's people that want me to get angry and super angry about it, and it's like, look, I'm not even going to get angry about it. I find it cute. People want to have a child of God with me. I get it. I could definitely donate sperm if people want to pay for it. I would definitely sell some. That's what I could. They want me to do this capitalist thing, and then I think about a capitalist idea, and then they get me like all upset. They're like, you're charging too much. $13.666 million, Chris, is too much money for your cum. Is it? A bunch of your fake monopoly money and keeping me from a bunch of lawsuits throughout my life. Legit lawsuits, a lot easy to win lawsuits. A lot of the suppression is to keep the cover up going. So. But anyway, I'm not going to fucking do evil things for your money either. And that's what I like about my benefits, is I have like a little bit of cheddar. It's not nearly enough, but I'm trying to crank out a book so I could I don't have no $45 million deal like Kamala or something like that, but if I can make, over lifetime $1 million or $2 million, so I could buy some land and maybe a nest somewhere, just away from people. I'd like to live in nature somewhere nice, not cursed lands or toxic lands. I think all the lands are damaged at this point, but some slightly damaged land maybe that me tending to could fucking heal has been really appealing to me. I don't want to participate in the rat race stuff. I don't mind giving good advice though, or trying to give a little bit of insight through my brain damaged ass, for life. Like people intentionally brain damaging me, shit, fucking assholes. Is the best. I know I'm not the most eloquent or articulate, but I'm a reflection of the people, especially the society that I grew up in. And there you go. Like a lot of you are poisoned and possessed, and your bodies and minds are ruined. And I reflect that because you went through it, so I had to go through it, right? So I could better understand to talk about it too. Like I had to go through it. So like if I didn't experience any of this stuff, I wouldn't be able to talk about it or somewhat properly convey, the thoughts here, what's going on and how you guys are totally manifesting a hell and everything. I didn't even think about that shit until like recently, because I was like, oh, manifestation of the yeah, I didn't even think about that. But I'm glad that I'm connecting the dots, and hope I'm helping some people out. And I find it cute, that people, just want to mate with me. Really, is kind of their goal. They're like, fine, we'll wait for her to be 18. And it's like, well, fuck, I'm not going to have anything in common with her. Like that other one last year was really lovely, but I'm sorry, I was possessed. She was wearing a lovely black dress, but she also looked like someone that was from my past, and also I take a little offense to that because it feels like you're manipulating me. But there's other options. I don't know if my new security here trying to hook up with me. It's really, I can't just get into a relationship very easily. It's very hard to be my friend. Not that I'm not a friendly person, but all the infiltration and all the manipulation, it's just, and it's like my greater self is protecting me. Like, gotta be alone. Maybe not forever, but I'm okay being alone as well. Like, I don't need another, but I could use another. And we could, the proper person, we could use each other to grow and thrive. But I'm tired of the Zionist ones being sent my way. Like, they get these really low vibration ones sent my way, and then I'm operating at a higher vibration, and they're at a lower vibration, and then it brings me down, because they're feeding off of me, and then I just don't like that. I would rather have the higher vibration and the higher vibration female. Thanks. That isn't underage. I appreciate it. I know all this eyes wide shut shit, right? And then people also, they got the mob that are child protectors that are trying to, that are just partaking in essentially abusing people for life, but they pick it up after they're 18. Pretty much. And then you just worry about your family and your tribe, all right? And then there's going to be other tribes that do things differently, and then the freedoms are going to allow awkward situations and evil to lurk in the corners, of the world, and that's just that. And you got to make peace with that so you could not manifest a hell on earth, right? Like, it really feels that's what it's doing. Thank you for trying to recruit me, especially the eyes wide shut folks. I appreciate it. I need to have someone from my peer group that enjoys, music that we grew up on, and maybe shows that we grew up on. Yeah, you want to get nostalgic about this, and maybe watch it or listen to this music, like something that we could relate to. And a lot more shows than Rent and Stimpy that I mentioned earlier, but I was like an 80s and 90s child. Come on, I need to have that, and it's been robbed from me, and I've been very vulnerable alone. That's another thing. They like to isolate us targets and leave them alone, and keep them alone and everything, and you could be very vulnerable because, like, I am seeking that connection, and it could come from a lot of ones, but a proper connection could only come from a few, and that's what I would prefer and want and am aiming for. So yeah, there's a lot of pretty faces and everything, but a lot of the pretty faces too, not all of them, but a lot of them are demonic. And and it's not like all demons are bad. There's like some demons that are just like doing their thing, like fucking Mr. Ballin. All right, on fucking YouTube, and he does his little stories, and he's talking about like hikers and campers that go out and they get chased around and shit, and they were circling their tent, and even things that aren't human. There's that what lurks beneath and shit, and there's the, like fucking like dog men and other creatures that are roaming around and shit, and they're just like circling their tent and brushing up against the tent and everything. But they all live to tell their fucking stories. Like they were just getting off on their negative, fearful emotion, right? You know, just like that movie Monsters Incorporated. But they don't just do it to children, they do it to adults too. And that's another thing, like, about manifesting. And I was saying, like, don't talk about suicide that much. Yeah, we know you're not suicidal, and actually, I don't even really believe in suicide anymore. I think they're all fucking covert murders. You don't want to manifest that negative energy. Just like you go into a house that's haunted, all right, by some demonic entity, and you get really scared and fearful, and that's just like feeding the spirit even more, and it's going to feed more into the fear and your negative energies, and it's just going to be this cascading effect. And so you go into it fearless, and then the demons and entities can't feed off you like that. The ones that do feed off your fear. And so you could apply that across the board, that kind of, thinking. So anyway, yeah, I think a lot of the demons do actually manage their fucking darkness well. So this isn't to harp on all the demons. I think a lot of them do manage their shit very well. And occasionally, sure, someone gets killed. Like, they're not looking to kill someone, but they're chasing them in the dark and everything, and they're scaring them, and they're getting off on the fucking, fear emotion, and it's like, man, like a dozen or two people, and then someone mistakenly falls off a cliff and then breaks their neck. And then that shit happens. That wasn't the intent, but and then they're like, oh shit, now we can't feed off the fucking negative emotions. Fuck. Like, right? That damn, we had the fire started, and then we damn fucking, got it all fucking, then it went out. When we tried to keep it going. So yeah, I think there are a lot of demons that do manage their fucking demonic stuff, properly, and good for them. There's other demons here though that are fucking trying to ruin it for everyone else. They're like the demons that are managing it properly. They're like, yeah, we take this time and care, and we coordinate this thing, and we get off on it, and we do this pretty regularly out here in this wilderness spot. And then there's like the other demons that are like, we're gonna blow everything up, and nobody's gonna have anything unless you fucking bow down to us. And then there's those demons that are gonna ruin it for everyone else. It's like the vampires. I don't know if they're necessarily demonic. There's just like, there's good and bad in every fucking creature and species and everything, it seems, or advanced species. So the vamps are they're offering money for people's blood. All right, well, I mean, you guys are probably drinking some of that blood and everything that you get it from the donation stuff, but you're offering them money and everything, which helps them out, which you should probably be offering them more and everything, but good for you for not like capturing them in the middle of the night and sucking their blood and everything. Like, it probably still occurs nowadays, but there's the proper ones and then the improper ones, and the ones managing it better and then the ones not managing it better, and shit like that. And it's just better management, and I made it sound like one of those TED Talk, CEO people with the mic and everything. Like, better management is what you need in your corporation, but yeah, like, better management. I'm not for all this forever war shit, and I'm not going to be manipulated into it. I'm going to make peace, and I'm going to just, I'm just more neutral than a lot of other people. A lot of other people, are not neutral, and I'm going to be more neutral. It's not that I'm against genocide, or it's not that I'm for genocide. I'm against genocide still, so I still have my little biases, but I'm just being more neutral on issues where it just, my decisions don't matter. And when other people want to get together and consent with things, that's their fucking business. It seems more proper than getting in some sort of contract, especially at a young age. Like, contracts and marriage is a contract. Like, you need life experience for that shit. Fucking around at a sex party, that's like just having fun or whatever, especially for the demons. That's just like, yeah, we fucking like wrestled around, but we were all naked. Okay, whatever. I hope you use condoms. But whatever if you didn't. That's your fucking business. That's not my fucking business. When you kidnap people and you roofie them, then that's shit that I disagree with, and not consent. Um, and of course, too young, and I don't know where the line. That's for every family to fucking decide. All right, I think your almost adults could, make adult decisions. All right, and that's just that. That's just that. All right, and especially, man, like a lot of the younger females are more mature than I was when I was their age. Like it took me to my 30s to be like that mature. But that's probably a signal of how ruined I was as well. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I wasn't able to say no until my like 30s, my like late 30s or some shit. I wasn't able to say no. Fuck. Like and then you have like teenage daughters and everything that can say no. Well, they're not so ruined as I was, I know, but I was made to be a yes man, just like a lot of MK Ultras, like that Tyler Robinson guy. That's the designated scapegoat for the uh, assassination of Charlie Kirk. I think he's in some sort of witness protection like program, and I think he got Men in Blacked when they erased his memory and they just gave him a new life. He could very well be underground the rest of his life, and they just kind of wake him up and they're like, "All right, time to go to work and do your thing. You're going to be doing this underground. It's what you're passionate about." And he's like coming to. He's like, "What? Okay, and he can't remember his other life, so he's like, all right, I'm going to do this, and then just get them into another life, and that's why it looked so fake. His hand at the funeral looked like a sex doll toy, sex doll toy, sex toy doll. I don't know. Anyway, and and that's why there's like a leg chair disappearing and all these weird like super fast drones moving around, like maybe for a hologram. Maybe it's more like that one Spider-Man movie, because there's a lot of truths in movies, because these guys in Hollywood, they're connected to the US intel communities, and they can't help but kind of let that truth out, but in a fictional way. So they kind of get like, look, this is just for the movies. This is all fake and everything. This stuff only occurs in the movies, all right? Does it? Maybe they need a bunch of little drones flying around to help with that advanced hologram. Like a little swarm of drones, and have their main area that's broadcasting, but also like little drones. Maybe like orbiting really quickly to create a 3D illusion. Maybe it is more like that. But anyway, I have been ranting for a really long time. I'm not going to make my sexual abuse a fucking weapon. Um, well, not the weapon that they want me to. I'll do it for some exposure to help open people's eyes and wake the other lions up. I don't need to wake all the sheep up. I just need to, focus on the other magical lions that are here with me. And I think I've been doing that, So, and it's just been a different year from last year, and good. I needed to kind of gather myself after all that amazing, mind blowing stuff, and processing everything that I ever knew and realigning it into a new worldview. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while. And yeah, I love you guys very much for the helpers. Sorry for barking at some of the nice ones. Very sorry about that. I think a lot of it was my possession, and there's still probably the echoes of the possession, like the bad habits that I've learned and got trained into me over the course of the possession, and people like literally trying to ruin me and keep things from me, and it's had its effect. I can't say that I didn't come out of the jungle without a fucking scar. I got a lot of scars all over my brain and body, but I made it through, and I'd still work for you, the people, but I'm not going to be a deep state bitch to do it. I don't mind Stewart of America. It sounds very king-like, but if there was a good version of that, that would be that. Not like the Lord of the Rings Stewart, where he was being fucking greedy and consumed by greed and all the bad things. I want to be the good version of that, and just put a bunch of people in charge. Punch your people in charge. No bankers, no CEO fucks, none of that. I was asking for half their money too, the bankers and all that. It's better than the people taking all your money. Let me first off tell you, all your fake monopoly money. Yeah, give me half so then I could give half to the people. And this will not just be for the American people, but all across the world. And get people like Jimmy Dore. I'm sure he'll do it for free. Be like, look, Jimmy, I need you to help distribute $100 million to the people. Could you do this for a small fee or free? And I'll just, have your people do that stuff. And keep them in charge with like a little amount. Where, look, you could take up to $1 million, Jimmy, but I want you to distribute this 100 million. All right, so here's 101 million. And do stuff like that. I wasn't asking for half so I could be like the richest or some shit. I was asking for half so I could get rid of it and give it to the people. So it's the mindset of how you want to do these things and be true to it. Because yeah, these are nice words and everything, but this is like what I am about. As opposed to all the false idols and fake kings of your world that say, oh, we're going to do this nice thing and help America first, America first, America first. All right, a bunch of money for Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan. All right, you got it. America first. I jerk you off with that. America first, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I think there's a lot of hope in the youth too. That's why they are really like, they did the Charlie Kirk assassination, right? Witness protection thing. And then the next month, in October here, they are doing the ceasefire, even though they're still killing and bombing Palestinians, because they're trying to change their image for the youth, because they're rightfully losing the youth, rightfully losing the youth. And good, because this is a group effort. There can't, it's so complicated and nobody can know it all. It has to come from a group of people. But I don't mind, like, leading it too. Be the first and last America's steward, at least for a while. So you guys have to do this again when corruption, takes control of everything. I don't mind being part of this purging effort. It should come from one of yours. Not to destroy, but to replenish and renew. Just, have you tried shutting down your country and turning it back on again? Just that, We don't even need to, I'll be open to you sparing their lives. I'll be open to sparing their lives. And, releasing my people and release them. But they got to go somewhere. We got to find a designated area for them. I don't want to decimate any more native lands or anything like that, but could we give them the tip of South America? Could we give them the tip of Florida? And give them the tip of Australia? Give them some place to be. There has to be some agreed upon place for these demons to, kind of do their little darker things where they can have their weird laws. And because it's a big open secret in Israel anyway, so you're just fooling yourself otherwise if you think that's not the case. So yeah, and no, like the Israel should be like, on the Rothschild Island. It shouldn't be in Palestine. It should be, on the Rothschild Island, tip Florida, tip of South America, because they have their Argentina pals anyway. So maybe they'll be agreeable to that. Just someplace, someplace, because that what they're doing right now, I know it's their favorite pastime to infiltrate and to twist, distort, pervert others, which is what's happening in Palestine. But they just need to be given their own spot, maybe the 51st state. I'll be open to that. Yeah, it would mean that America gets hit less with those weather editing things, and they might have what is it? Free healthcare in college, then, right? So it's kind of like jiu-jitsu a little bit. You know, you take someone's attack and everything, and then you twist it around on them. Um, so yeah, you got to take the positive out of situations. And that's what I've been doing most of the time. Um, they've been successful, I guess. Getting me down and out every now and then, but I think I've been doing very well given them all the circumstances and all the mind controls and people blasting me with dues and chemicals and possessions and, you know, good and bad magic, but I'm kind of speaking about the bad magic. Um, so yeah, I wish you guys a lovely day. This video is probably going to be like 2 hours long, so, congratulations if you made it through it all, but, you know, Uh, sorry about the particularly long rant, though. That is, I don't want people to be glued to their fucking things, but I want to get some shit off my chest. And I'm going to brush all this stuff off because, you know, yeah, I'm not gonna be turned into a weapon for, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to be the people's weapon, not manipulated against the people. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Um, so yeah, I'm getting back into it. I haven't danced for like about 10 months or so. I haven't gone out randomly dancing. I have hurt my back. It's been just a little more than a year since my back hurt, and things are feeling fine now. So um, I just need to just relift my spirits. It's been very like everything is fake and oh my god, it's more evil, and it's just been kind of mind blowing, kind of stunning me a little bit. Maybe triggering the freeze response or some shit like that. I'm getting back on the horse. Don't worry. Um, and I love you all very much, and you guys take care, and bye bye.